Good morning, Aston, or wherever you're listening from. This is 98.5 WMUW. We got an exciting episode today of Champ Talk with Brendan Bosky.
And I'm Renzo.
We're talking football, a lot of Dynasty in today's episode. I'm excited to get to it. What about you, Renzo?
I love Dynasty. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this.
No.
It's just fantasy, but...
Year round.
Yeah, exactly.
24/7.
All the time. I mean, you really can't go wrong with it.
No, I'm more excited for Dynasty this season than ever. Last year was my first Dynasty league, so bit of a newbie, but still know what I'm talking about in here. First off, we're going to start with some news and notes around the league. Second segment, we're going to go into some Dynasty RB rankings. We're going to go top 12, our 12 through 1. And then our last segment's going to be our Dynasty wide receiver rankings, so we're going to go 12 through 1 for that too. So should be a good episode coming up, and good listen. So make sure you tune in, see what it's all about. First, just news around the league. Stephon Diggs' contract cut to 1 year from 3 years.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's big news, honestly. They're making him prove it, and I feel like the biggest part about this is they're kind of showing their cards that they're going to decide between him and Collins.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like the thing is, like, I love Nico Collins, and he did so well last year. But Stephon Diggs has been, like, a top 5 receiver for the past, I don't know how many years. You know, like, he's been phenomenal. And Nico Collins has only really shown his true colors last year with a good quarterback. I mean, Stephon Diggs has had Josh Allen for the past couple of years, so obviously he's had a good quarterback back there to kind of help him out. But Nico Collins just got his franchise quarterback. Nico Collins just got C.J. Stroud last year.
Yeah.
And he clearly performed at a very high level.
I think Nico Collins is a very talented player.
Oh, yeah.
I think him and Stephon Diggs are a little bit different player, where Stephon Diggs can run any route on the field, and it's more that kind of more all-around, can-do-it-all type of guy.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Collins is more of that jump ball, X-wide receiver, lines up on the outside. So it's going to be interesting to see, but also I feel like we've seen some regression from Stephon Diggs. I feel like the best days of him are behind us. Not that he's going to be bad, but I don't know if he is that top 5 wide receiver anymore.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, he is getting older, but I mean, he's still performing. He's still on the higher side of wide receivers in the league. But I mean, he's 30 years old.
Yeah,
so, like, he's getting there.
Talking in fantasy terms, I think we see a little bit of a fall off from last year.
Yeah.
Maybe. I always forget how off he was in the back half of last year and how much he really didn't play like the Stephon Diggs we're used to seeing. I mean, the end of last year, he seemed like a totally different player from what we were used to.
I think a lot of that is I don't think he necessarily wanted to be in Buffalo.
Yeah, he was being a little baby.
Yeah, I mean, like, all these rumors of, I don't want to be here, whatever, and then it was back to, no, like, Buffalo is my home, and then it was back to, no, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, it was all over the place. I think it was best just for him to get out of there.
Yeah.
And it really shows, like, wide receivers get what they want. I
do.
don't think the Bills are too mad about this. I think this is a little reset for their offense. But they're going to bring in another guy, and I honestly don't think he's going to perform that much worse than Stephon Diggs just because the limited production we did see from Diggs last year. So
yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo trades up or takes a wide receiver where they're at
definitely.
right now. But because this is such a talented wide receiver class, I feel like they have to take wide receiver.
I feel like especially looking at Diggs and looking at his 1-year contract, I mean, it's very telling from what the Texans think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a prove it year. See what happens, but I mean, at least for the year, they got a dominant offense.
I think that's the best wide receiver trio in the league.
Oh, easily.
I think
Tank Dell has made himself into a top 3 slot receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Well, Collins and Diggs are both top 25 to 30 wide receivers on a regular playing field. Yeah. I'm not talking fantasy here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next piece of information is the Jags re-signed Josh Allen to a 5-year, $150 million contract, 30 per year.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, the guy deserves it. He's one of the most talented edge rushers in the league. So, I mean, kind of expected that.
How does that compare to, on average, like the $30 million? How, like, is he like the highest paid or like third highest paid or something?
I don't know if he's the highest paid or not.
It's got to be up
there.
Let
me look up.
$30 million a year for 5 years. That's crazy. I mean, he deserves, like you said, he deserves it. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a fantastic player. But like
that would put him at.
It's got to be high, at least top 5.
This has like. Wait, let me go. I think he's listed as an outside linebacker, technically.
Yeah.
So that would make him the highest paid outside linebacker, just barely beating out Brian Burns' contract. I mean, it's about 150.
Mm-hmm.
The real value without the guarantees and the whatever is
bonuses and whatnot.
The bonuses, is about 141.25.
Okay. Yeah.
While Brian Burns is just 141. But on a year-to-year, it's about 50K over the next guy, but he's the highest paid edge rusher at this point.
Yeah. I mean, he deserves it. He's been dominating in Jacksonville. The Jaguars need him. I feel like the Jaguars, they need that star kind of D lineman, edge rusher type person. And then plus if they draft like a corner this year, which this is a deep corner class, I feel like that duo can go crazy. I mean, having the pressure on the line plus the secondary star, I feel like could be really good.
Yeah, they're a team to watch out for. Like, I don't even know where to put them right now. It's too early because they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of talent on that roster if they could get their act together.
Who are their wide receivers?
Gabe Davis,
Zay Jones,
Kirk.
Oh yeah,
Christian
I forgot about Kirk. And they have Ingram too.
And they have Ingram. Like they have players and they have ETN. So I'm not that worried.
I love ETN.
To backtrack a little, Nick Bosa, I would say is the highest paid edge rusher at 34 per year.
Yeah.
But he's next with that about 28.
Yeah.
With in real numbers it's about 30. So for the third piece, Rashee Rice.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
For the third week in a row we're talking about him. He's getting jail time. I take back what I said. He at least he's working with the authorities to try to get it done. Yeah. I was wrong.
No, but
he's working with the police. He got out on bond Thursday, and he's the next Henry Ruggs.
How long is he going to jail for? Do we know?
I don't know. It'll probably be a year at least, but nothing really has came out about that. Just saying he's cooperating and he was in jail, and now he got out on bond. So
I'm seeing
more to come from the Rice story down the road.
I'm seeing random headlines here. Rashee Rice Chargers could see Chief star face up to 35 years in prison. I don't know how true that is. That's a lot, but I don't know.
He's not going to be playing football next year. I can tell you that.
Yeah, definitely not next year.
Another piece of news, the NFL is allowing a third alternate helmet design.
I like that.
I love it.
I like that.
I mean, dude, the Bengals got some of the cleanest alternates and some of the best jerseys. I mean, my whole thing is why not?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I get don't have 17 different helmets over the course of the entire season.
You can't have too many because you don't want one like a different one each game. But like the amount of like money they could put into this and the creative they can get, they look so sick, so cool. And some of the designs you see online, like the ones that people just make for like Instagram pages fun.
Or whatever.
Yeah, with the visors and everything.
Are insane.
Yeah.
So I think that's just another right step in the NFL, letting teams get creative with what they're doing.
How many are they allowed up now? 4? 3?
3.
3? Okay.
Yeah. So last year or 2 years ago they allowed the first, or was it last year? One of the two. In the last 2 years they allowed the first, and then now, or the second, and now they're allowing a third alternate.
Yeah.
And a third helmet.
Yeah, I love like you said, like the Bengals, the all white.
The white. The Texans got a cool one.
Yeah, the Texans.
The Saints.
I honestly like the retro Giants with the red, white, and blue, like the stripes on it. I love that.
I think the Jets have an underrated one. Mm-hmm. Oh, how can we not talk about the Eagles? Kelly Green's one of the best alternate.
Yeah, it's usually top 3.
And the helmet just makes it even better.
Yeah, I love Kelly Green.
I just want them to bring back the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, the
Bumblebee jerseys.
The
I need
black
those.
And yellow.
I need those back in my life now.
Those are pretty cool. At first, I didn't like them. I thought they were ugly, but then they grew on me. It took a while, but they grew on me.
I love them.
Yeah, those are fire.
They're so ugly that they're my favorite.
Just imagine George Pickens just balling out in one of those.
I would go crazy. Russell Wilson throwing for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a Bumblebee striped jersey for the Steelers next year. Wild. Random thought. Do you think they go do you think Justin Fields gets some random like RPO snaps?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. No, it's a random thought, but like it's not like too far out there. Like, that's totally reasonable because he's just such a good runner. And Russ is getting old. They can't risk him running too much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they can.
Yeah, they can.
It's like, oh, we lose Russ. I mean, Russ is easily a top 20 quarterback. Like, he's going to go out there and produce good stats. I mean, he was 26-4 last year, touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah, which is really good.
Which is really good, which is way better than Pickett's 6-4 in the same amount of games. Or maybe Pickett. I think Pickett might have played more games. I don't know. It was horrible. But, yeah, so that leads us into our little short topic to start the morning. Quarterbacks and paying mediocre quarterbacks. I think this is one of the most intriguing topics in the NFL. And a topic I feel like coaches and GMs could lose their job about because it keeps happening and you're starting to see the change, but I don't know if that change is here to stay, especially after hearing Purdy contract rumors. But the whole idea behind this is the fact that mediocre quarterbacks are getting paid as elite quarterbacks, and it's just hurting the team because they don't have as much money to allocate to other places.
Yeah, pay the rest. Pay the rest of the team.
And I mean, I'm fine with the top end guys, the elite guys getting that 40 million plus, but if you're not one of those elite guys and you're getting 40 million, 35 million plus, I think 35 million plus is really the cap, then it's absurd.
Yeah.
Like, you see what the 49ers were able to do. I know they lost Super Bowl, but you get a good scheme, good weapons, and you can throw almost any reasonable quarterback into the mix. Like, you threw in Brock Purdy. I'm saying Brock Purdy's definitely smart.
Oh, yeah.
Could read the field, was perfect fit for the offense. But if you can just find that guy who's a good fit for your offense, you can throw almost any quarterback in, and it'll perform almost as good as some of these other mediocre ones you're paying $40 million, except you have way more creativity in how you spend your budget and where that money's going, and really help the performance of your team overall. I mean, I'll let you talk on this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some average salaries here. I think the biggest one, Daniel Jones at $40 million. Yeah, like, how is he's getting paid higher than Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, like Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, like all these quarterbacks that I think are better.
Yeah,
I think are better than Daniel Jones. And I know Daniel Jones might not have the weapons. I know like he might not have the whatnots and the wide receiver one and the all-star tight end with an amazing O-line. But like, still, like, they haven't really performed ever with Daniel Jones, and then they just throw a bag at him. Yeah, I don't understand.
I mean, especially because the only guy he ever had was Saquon.
Yeah,
and now he doesn't even have Saquon. But you're giving him $40 million. That $40 million, I mean, he just hasn't been that good.
No.
Dable made him look good for a year, and you could have gave a guy like Gardner Minshew, Sam Darnold, somebody in that tier, right?
Yeah.
Geno Smith, like a quarter of what he got. But then you go and add wide receivers in free agency. You get a Calvin Ridley and a Gabe Davis. Like, all of a sudden, I'm no fan of either one, big fan of either one of them. But all of a sudden, you have wide receivers who get open, can really create for your quarterback, and then you have a real offense. But instead, you're using all your money on your mediocre trash quarterback that you can't do that. I feel like a good example of like paying a guy the right amount is Jared Goff at 33, because he's in that above average threshold, but he's not elite, and that's where he belongs.
Yeah,
in that
but he's
33.
got phenomenal weapons around him, and it makes him look great.
Yeah,
it makes him look better.
Every guy, you can look through this list of people, and if they're elite, they're having success no matter what with their weapons. Maybe not record-wise, but at least, well, record-wise too. I mean, Joe Burrow, great record. I mean, he got hurt, so that's a hard example. I'm just going from top to bottom of average. Lamar Jackson, whoever he has out there, they're winning games. Jalen Hurts, they're winning games. I mean, that's a newer contract. Mahomes, winning games. Josh Allen, winning games. Stafford, winning games. Like, those guys deserve the money they're getting.
Yeah.
But then you look at other guys.
How do you feel about Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins at that 45?
Yeah, 45.
I don't think he's an elite quarterback.
No.
But I think he's like the odd example where you have the perfect fit of young guys already, so you have the quarterback who you're able to plop in and make it great.
Yeah, but is he worth the 45?
Is he for them, I'll say.
For Atlanta?
Yeah, because I think he's just above that mediocre tier. Like I think he's better than Dak, Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's better than the other guys in that area. I think he's a little bit like better than Jared Goff. I'd put him around like a 37 million to 40. I think he's in that same tier with Stafford.
I agree with
that. But
I
think sometimes you have to win the bidding war in free agency, and that's what it takes.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like if you're re-signing a guy, really. Like I'm talking about re-signing, like you're re-signing Daniel Jones or you're re-signing Brock Purdy.
Right.
That's more the line I'm thinking about. But I mean, when it comes to free agency, I think that's a decent price.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was saying is, if you look back, you look at Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson. I think Murray's actually a good quarterback. I just think that team sucks.
Yeah, I love Kyler Murray.
If you look at Watson, Dak, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, I mean, those are 4 guys who just aren't good and getting paid a lot of money, and their teams are just in severe cap problems. So
the Saints especially, aren't they like the largest team in debt right now, and they're just throwing money at Derek Carr?
So my whole point, what I'm getting to is if you go now and you re-sign Brock Purdy for 40 million when he's not worth 40 million, he's maybe worth 25, 30.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden you can't re-sign Debo. You're gonna see it. They're gonna trade Ayuk coming up.
I hope so.
Because they can't.
So.
Re-sign Ayuk.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's going to play in front with an all-star running back, 2 all-pro wide receivers, and an all-pro tight end to playing with an all-pro tight end and another weapon. And all of a sudden he loses out on his wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
And
all of it's just gone.
Maybe somebody else down the road. So, and a lot of times it comes at the offensive line. I mean, look at Matthew Stafford. He hasn't had an offensive line in years because he's always been paid so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you pay your mediocre quarterback and he can't bring up the value of the rest of your team, really bring the best out of everybody, it's not worth paying them. That's just my personal thoughts. I mean, I feel like this is not a heavily debated, but a not looked at topic enough.
Yeah, and I get it because quarterbacks, I think the quarterback is the most important position.
It is.
And if you're not winning games because your quarterback isn't performing at the level he's at or he's supposed to be, and you're throwing money at him, I think that's just it just doesn't make sense. You're giving money to a guy where you could be giving money somewhere else to someone who's not winning you games at the most important position on the field. That part doesn't add up to me.
They're almost like a bit replaceable at times once you get that past that certain threshold of like that top 10 to 15. You can almost just plug and play guys and give them weapons, and then based on scenario and scheme, they're going to be able to have success. So I think that's the biggest point from the overpaying quarterbacks. I think it's one of those things where guys are going to start losing their jobs, and really it's got to be something we watch in the future with just how much the cap is growing and how much more quarterbacks are getting paid. I think only the best of the best deserve to be paid like that. So
what would you do with $55 million a year, making Joe Burrow money? What would you do with $55 million a year?
55 mil, light bag, probably just invest it all into Champ Talk. Nah, real answer. I'd buy a car. I'd buy a house. I'd buy a house with like a bunch of cool stuff in it. Like I'd put like a lacrosse field in that. I'd do a bunch of stuff.
I'd buy a yacht. I'd buy a bat cave.
Bat cave?
Yeah, I'd make a bat cave.
That'd be sick.
Get a Batmobile. Basically, I'd just be Batman.
You become Batman?
I'd just be Batman.
Wild. All right, we're going to go to break. You're listening to WNUW. We'll be right back. Stay.
And we're back. Back to Champ Talk. This is Renzo Garone.
And Brendan Bosky.
And we are starting off with our 12 Dynasty running back, starting from 12 all the way up to 1. Boshi, start us off here. What do you got at number 12? Who do you got?
At number 12, I feel like the biggest part about running back Dynasty leagues, you want that nice age where they haven't played too long in the league, where they got some longevity left. You're looking about every running back in terms of time has about their rookie contract. They have about 6 years. They have a rookie contract plus a re-sign. You got to be special to get more than that. So how I really look at it a lot of times is like, how many guys got four years left?
Yeah.
So, I mean, starting off at my number 12, I have Rachaad White.
Okay, I like that.
So, Rachaad White, I mean, I think he really showed in Tampa last year what he could do, especially as a pass catcher. If Baker Mayfield checks the ball down to him, which he'll have to do for some parts because that offensive line isn't the best, he's going to have success this year, and he's a good runner of the football. A lot of times last year he got 20-plus rushing attempts, and he had all the signs of showing the sophomore year breakout that a running back usually goes through. And I'm just excited to watch him in the future. Yeah. So I think he's a great prospect.
I think he's very underrated.
Yeah, he really came onto the scene last year and showed that he was a very capable running back. So that's where I kind of am at with him. I know you have him at the 11. He comes in as our RB 11/12.
Yeah.
We had a tie with him and Josh Jacobs. So
Yeah,
if
we
you want
just
to comment on him a little,
Yeah,
you
I
go.
mean, I like Rachaad White. I like what you said too. He's a big pass catcher, and in PPR leagues, I mean, it's going to be good because he's just going to constantly get the ball, but not only just hand it off, but throwing the ball, which is huge. Getting all these receptions and all these attempts, plus the yardage and whatever else he gets. I mean, like you said, Baker's going to be checking the ball down. Not only that, he's just a talented guy overall. I think he's just growing into his role. And I think overall he's going to be good, and you really can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, especially at that RB12 slot. I mean, you look at other guys around this point, we kind of got that next tier of guys. I'd say him and Josh Jacobs are in that third tier of guys. With, I think the other one I really had up there was James Cook, where I could flip him.
Yeah,
but I think he's ahead of Pacheco because of his ability to both rush and pass. Swift, I think he's above. That was a hard one too. I really liked Swift this year. He just got a 3-year contract. I know I said 4 earlier, but you know he's going to be playing for 3 years. Yeah. And that Bears offense is going to be pretty good this year by my guesses. So,
yeah, I agree.
I really like Rachaad White for this upcoming season. He is 25, so not a bit older for a running back, but he's not on the young side like some of the higher guys we got. But I think he'd be a very solid pick around this level, and I don't think you could really go wrong based on his metrics from last year.
Yeah, and then moving on, I had Rachaad at my 11.
Yeah, I had him at my 12. And then
my
we had
12
these flip-flopped.
So my 12 is Josh Jacobs.
My 11's Jacobs, yep.
Yeah, and I really like Josh Jacobs. I like him here at the Packers now too. I know A.J. Dillon's there. That's kind of why I flip-flopped him. I mean,
that's why you have him at 12?
Yeah, because A.J. Dillon, I'm not saying A.J. Dillon's going to be taking away like a ton of snaps from Jacobs, but like the fact that Rachaad White doesn't really have, I don't even know the RB2 on the Bucs. Like I don't even know his name.
It's Vaughn, maybe. He might not even be the RB2 anymore. Yeah. That's the wildest part.
Yeah.
The Rachaad White finished as the RB4 last year in total fantasy.
Yeah, points. Which is that's actually very surprising.
He had 272 attempts, which was the same amount as Christian McCaffrey, less efficient with 3.6 rushing yards per attempt. But he also caught 64 passes on 70 targets and had
really good.
9 total touchdowns.
For a running back, that's
very
really
good.
Yeah.
Like I think he's gonna. I don't see him going down in terms of how many points he averaged. Like he averaged 15.8. At worst, I see him only averaging 13, which is still in your top 12.
Yeah,
especially because of the durability he's shown in the last 2 years.
Especially if he's your RB2, 13 points.
Yeah,
like as a minimum is a great floor to have. You know, it's a solid guy who you know at least is going to put up with double-digit points. I mean, that's really all you need from your RB2. And I feel like Rachaad White or Josh Jacobs, both of these guys, I feel like can do that.
And now going on to Jacobs, I think Jacobs is in a much better situation than he was in last year. That's why I'm giving him the nod above Rachaad White.
Yeah.
I think he's a little bit better of a running back. Like he just runs the ball better. He's great at finding those holes, especially between the tackles and between the guards. So he's going to get a lot more touchdowns this year with Green Bay.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
They paid him. Like they showed faith in him. They're not going to Aaron Jones him and basically not use him at times. I think he's a great pickup this year and will continue to build on what he's been doing in the past. I see him getting well beyond what he got for touches last year. Last year he got 39 catches and 238 rushes for about 270, 280 total touches. I see him getting in the 325 to 350.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure.
I just see him having a very good year. He's a bit older.
He's 26.
He's 26, so he's a year older, which the fall-off age for running backs is about 28, 29, 30 in that age. But I think that range. But I think he has the ability to play till he's 30.
Yeah, I mean, both of these guys, I feel like, are interchangeable. They both have their pros. They both have their cons. But I feel like both of these guys are great RB2s at the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend putting maybe them in your RB1, but I mean, worst comes to worst if you have to.
If you're getting one of those, if you're getting two of the top wide receivers or one of the top wide receivers in the first round, these guys are great to have. I would be fine with either one of these as my RB1 this year, actually.
Depends on the rest of your team, too.
Especially in Dynasty. But it comes down to what your draft strategy is. Any of these guys I'm listing in my top 12 for running backs and wide receivers, I'd pick any of them in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, they're all round 3 or better picks is what I'm trying to say. Not that I'd take, like, my 12 at my 1. Not that.
Yeah.
But there's a good group of guys here that are all 3rd-round projections at worst.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to our number 10. We had the same number 10, Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
He's our what pops out to me is his age. I didn't realize he was 23.
Yeah, neither did I.
And he's also one of the fastest running backs in the league.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah. He has wheels. He's 96 speed rating on Madden.
They gave him 96?
Yeah, he's like the step below Achane and Mostert in terms of speed.
Achane's fast.
Like, he's one of the fastest wide receivers, and he's sneaky
running
big,
backs.
Too. Like, built.
Running backs.
What
I said wide receivers.
My bad.
But yeah, I love Kenneth Walker. I took him last year in our fantasy league.
Oh, yeah, he had a really good year last year. The only thing that's kind of worrying me about Kenneth Walker is the fact that they now have Charbonnet, and Charbonnet is looking to build on a bigger role than last year as a pass catcher, especially.
Kenneth Walker also got injured last year. I forget when, but that's when Charbonnet kind of started taking over, and he didn't even take over. He did not. No, he didn't take over. Yeah,
but that's when he started. Oh, you're saying like take over more reps? Yeah. Sorry. But that's why he's not higher up on my board, just because he still has 2 years left in his contract. He's gonna get another contract after he's done.
I think so.
But the Charbonnet part is a little worrying, and that's why he came down to be our RB number 10.
Mm-hmm.
So. I mean, anyways, I'd still be fine with him. I have him in my Dynasty league, and I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, he's on a good team. He's on a decent offense. He's on like a better offense. There's definitely worse offenses in this league. And being on the Seahawks, I like what they do over there, and I think they use him right. A lot of times, running backs will be good, but they don't use him right. I think they use Kenneth Walker correctly, and I think because of that, he ends up producing the way he does.
Oh yeah. Coming in at our RB9 is Devon Achane.
Yeah.
He's my running back 8, your running back 9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, speed.
This kid is fast.
He's fast. The only reason I don't have him higher is injury concerns with how small he is.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't get injured 3 times last year, he would be above Gibbs for me. He'd be my RB2
yeah, he'd
or
be
3.
Up there. He'd be up there for me.
I have him and Ken Walker in my Dynasty league.
Mm-hmm. That's a great
and
deal.
Kamara.
Wow.
And then no one else. Literally Brian Robinson, and then I couldn't even name the next person on my roster. It's like the backup for the Rams or something.
Yeah.
So, but Devon Achane, I mean, the kid has wheels. He fits perfectly into the Mike McDaniel offense.
Just because they love speed over there between Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and then throw in Achane, who's like a lightning bolt.
Even if he's only the 3rd down, a 2-down back at best, he's going to get a lot of points.
Yeah.
I would not worry about him. I know he's a bit inconsistent, but the fact is the guy could easily put up 30 points per game, and nobody would even think twice about it. So he really comes in as one of my favorite prospects for this upcoming year in terms of what he could do. And he still has 3 years left on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be in the league for another 3 years. It's just if he can stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. I like him a lot, though. I think he's coming in last year. He was a rookie last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year, I think he came into the role like smoothly, very, very smoothly, and I think he fit great, and I think he's only going to build upon that this year.
Oh, yeah.
And the years to come.
Definitely. So if you're just tuning in, this is 98.5 WNUW, LP Aston. Me and Renzo are currently just running over our Dynasty top 12. By no means is this our calculated based on the statistics think they're going to get.
Yeah.
But this is our early season. This is our Dynasty, what we think that in the future years they're going to get.
Yeah.
Where they're going to end up ranking out, and it's our top 12.
I'd say we made a pretty good list, though.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's definitely a good list. I mean, there's only so much you can overanalyze here.
Yeah.
But we're breaking down each person and giving a little feedback about why we think they are, and it all makes sense. Like, nothing about it is off or anything. So
yeah, we're not like
we're not like Matt giving takes.
Yeah, we're making at
Sorry,
least
Matt.
we're making at least like some sort of solid takes with some sort of thought behind it.
Yeah. So coming in at our RB8. Yeah, Matt got
Caught us straight there.
Coming in at our RB8 is Travis Etienne. He is my RB9 and your RB7.
Yeah.
I mean, you have him at RB7. Why don't you kick us off here?
I mean, I like Travis Etienne. I think last year he did really well. I had
very well.
I had Travis and Kenneth Walker last year in our fantasy league. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I had both of them, and I was so happy for such a long time. And then they both started tanking. But the thing with Travis is,
you were happy until like week 10.
Yeah, yeah. That's when my whole team started tanking. But I mean, the thing with Etienne is he gets so many passes, and not only that, he's such a good runner.
He really is he's a pass catcher first.
Yeah, and that's why. And with Trevor Lawrence, who loves throwing the ball, and that whole offense who loves throwing the ball, I mean, I feel like I love it. But the only thing is, I put him high, but I mean, I put him higher than like Saquon, only by one spot. But I put him higher than Saquon.
It's really because of the longevity.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He is how old is he? He's 25.
And he only has a year left on his contract.
Yeah.
2 years if they give him the fifth year option.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the part uncertainty lies ahead, where Saquon has 3 years locked in.
Yeah.
That's why Saquon's above him for me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Etienne is very talented. Ranked as the RB3 last year, had 73 targets, 58 receptions, also was an 1,000-yard rusher, and had 11 touchdowns on the ground and 1 in the air, which I see his the amount of touchdowns he gets through the air going up this year.
Yeah, same here.
But
and that's why I just love.
It's going to be a hard season to replicate, but when they really decided to lean on the run and go through the run game, they played very well.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're able to. I mean, a lot of times at the end of the year, I feel like they just got throw happy.
Yeah, but when they decide to run the ball, Etienne is obviously like the leading force of that. And,
yeah, great.
And I think he performs so well.
And I think Tank Bigsby wasn't as productive as they thought right away.
Yeah. He's still got a couple touches here and there. But
yeah, but I think a lot of people are scared with Tank Bigsby. They thought they were going to be like this 1-2 punch. Or I think Travis Etienne easily has the role in Jacksonville.
For sure.
So the only reason he came in below both Achane and Barkley for me is that like guaranteed 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got Saquon with the Eagles for 3 years, and you got Barkley for 3 years. And I'm also not the biggest Etienne believer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think he's a top 5 running back like I could make the case for all these other ones up ahead.
Yeah. But
I do think he's a very good running back and will continually have a role, especially in the passing game.
Yeah, I see that.
Wi-Fi's still not working. Like,
all right, who are we talking about next? Saquon?
Next, we got up our number 7 running back, Saquon Barkley, coming in with an average of 7.5 based off being Renzo's 8 and my 7. This is our jumble of 3. I think this shows a tier in itself.
Yeah.
You got your top tier. I think our top 4.
Yeah, our top 4.
And then you kind of got the next
3,
2 to 5. I'd say 2.
Yeah.
And then you got your next 3 with Barkley, Achane, Etienne. And then you got the next about 5 with Walker, Jacobs, White. And then you also have, I think, Swift,
James Cook even.
James Cook. That was the other one. So about those 5. Maybe Pacheco. He's just, I don't know if I can really put full faith in Pacheco because he doesn't catch any passes. And Mahomes is going to get a lot of touchdowns. But
yeah,
I definitely think this is where this tier starts and ends with Saquon Barkley. He's an amazing player.
I love
Saquon.
Yeah, I love Saquon so much.
The only reason he wasn't the only reason he wasn't the number 1 running back for me with Philly is his age. I mean, he's already 26. He's going to be 27 when the year starts. I only think he really has 3 years left in him in terms of injury and all that.
Yeah, that's the other thing for me was injury. Like, God forbid he does something again when he's already done.
Because he's already in his 5th year of playing. This is going to be his 6th year coming up. And usually RBs fall off at that age 28 to 30 range.
Yeah, and right now he's at
Derrick
27.
Henry.
Yeah.
And about 8 years into their career. The thing about Derrick Henry that I feel like a lot of people forget is he didn't really play until his 4th year. So he didn't have that wear and tear that many running backs do by the time they're 28. I think that's why he's holding on a little more for these last 3 years. Yeah. And now we're going to see the fall off because it's like his 8th year of playing. So, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, Saquon going from the Giants, who are the Giants, when it comes down to offense. I mean, it's like, come on. Going to Philly, who's been like a top 6-5 offense for the past couple years. Yeah. Like, they got a new offensive coordinator. God. Yeah, and like they have like a multitude of weapons, and Saquon is a huge part of that. So I feel like having him there for the next 3 years, I feel like it's gonna be huge.
I think Philly will keep him healthier. He'll average more yards per carry. I see that 3.9 going to about 5, and I see his touchdown numbers going up.
Yeah, except if it's a tush push, but besides that.
6 touchdowns last year on the ground, and then 4 in the air. So maybe not insanely help, but I see him being more of a 16 touchdown guy. I mean, Swift last year was a 11 touchdown guy, and I think he's more talented than Swift. So I only see positive things ahead for Saquon Barkley. The age is the only thing holding me back here from making him like a top 2 guy. But if you're really in a win now mood, Saquon Barkley is one of the greatest values in this draft, getting him as the RB8.
For sure.
Okay, our next guy is an agreed upon 6. I don't think there's much to say about him.
I love him.
He's just an amazing runner on a great offensive scheme.
And he's young.
With a team that wants to run the ball. Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. He got 2 years left on his contract, 5th round pick. I think he gets an extension from them. He's only 23 years old.
There's no way he doesn't get the extension.
No. I mean, we still got 2 years to worry about it, but he looked amazing last year. Coming in as the RB2.
And he came out of nowhere. Like, he came out of, like, nobody, like he was drafted in the 5th round. And I didn't even know his name. Had
a year where he didn't really play much, and then last year just came in and dominated.
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was.
21 fantasy points per game.
That's nuts.
Had 12 rushing touchdowns. Finished in the top, I think 5, 4, 3, somewhere in there. I gotta stop doing that. Finished in the top 3 for touchdowns, and he missed about 4 or 5 games. The guy is just a great runner.
Yeah, the fact that he missed that many games and still put up the numbers that he did, that's like almost unheard of.
He's just a great runner, and I really believe in Kyren Williams. He finished as RB7, missing about that 5 to 6 games, like I already said. And I mean,
but still coming in as RB7, missing 5 games. Like, are you kidding me?
He was one of my easiest guys to put.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, okay, he's not as good as these guys, but I want him over these guys. The only guy I kind of had mixed with him was our number 5, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor just got a 3-year extension staying with the Colts. I love Frank Reich.
He's
an
really
amazing guy.
good.
I honestly think the Eagles are not going to be as good almost ever. Not ever, but like their offense with their current head coach will not be as good as when it was with Reich. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. Reich did such a good job with what we had, and now that he's gone, I mean, we moved on to Brian Johnson was his name.
Yeah, he's trash.
He's just terrible. And now we got Kellen Moore, so just so much better.
And then So Jonathan Taylor, I mean, Zach Moss dominated. I like Zach Moss, but Jonathan Taylor's a different beast.
Yeah. Zach
Can
Moss
run,
is
can
gone
catch, hits anywhere, breaks off long tackles. He's a great guy to go out there and get in fantasy.
now. And without Zach Moss there now?
I think we're going to see some vintage JT.
Yeah, I mean, when he dominated, he was Derrick Henry level. Like, almost Derrick Henry level. And
I think we could see another RB1 finish from JT. I don't think that's out of the question. His age just puts him under
25
three of the
years
next
old.
4 guys for me.
25 years old.
And you have the Christian McCaffrey exception in there where he's just
Christian McCaffrey.
Jesus. So, okay, let's move on to our RB4. We both have Jahmyr Gibbs.
Love him so much.
22 years old. Just came off his rookie season. I mean, the only concern here, the only reason why he isn't above Christian McCaffrey for me is David Montgomery.
Yeah, the fact he's splitting so many.
The guy has that burst of speed off the. His cuts are insane. The jump cut.
The outfield just performance from him once he breaks the gaps and he's out there in the field. I mean, he's breaking
amazing.
ankles every time. It's honestly a little scary how well he's doing as a rookie.
It's just the splitting time that kind of makes it tough. But he's going to get his touches, and he only needs 12 touches per game, plus like 4 catches. All of a sudden, you already got 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, maybe
he's going to be a great guy to get. He's going to be a good fantasy running back for another 7 years.
Yeah.
8 years easily, and he won't have Montgomery for half of those. So I really think the sky's the limit with him. He came in just behind our top 3, where I think we had them all mixed up, where Gibbs was our solid 4.
Yeah, and these next 3 I feel like are interchangeable.
Yeah, I think
I like all 3 of these guys at the 1. I like all 3 of these guys at the 2, and I like all 3 of these guys at 3. Like,
I don't think it matters.
It was hard for me to rank these guys.
So we got Christian McCaffrey as our RB3. You had him as your RB2. I had him as my RB3. I had him as my RB3 because he is 27.
Yeah, and I fully understand that.
But you're getting prime Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
For at least one more year of his contract, plus whatever extension he gets. I think he gets a 3-year and a 2 to 3 year. It's just Christian McCaffrey, man.
That's why, I mean, the only guy, I had Jahmyr at my 4. I had Breece at my 3. The only reason why I put CMC at my 2 is because, like, you saw the way he performed last year.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the guy wasn't dropping less than 20 points a game, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I was going to put him at my 3. I originally had him at my 3. I said, how can I do this? Like, I love Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is so good, and I think he's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But just after the year that CMC had, I couldn't put him below Breece, you know, and I just couldn't do it.
The whole dynasty aspect is what's thrown Christian McCaffrey down. Just because, if you're in a real dynasty league, don't get me wrong. If you're in a fake, like, you're in a, like, I play dynasty. If you're in one of those leagues where, the league's not lasting more than 2 years, go pay Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall. But if you're in a long-term dynasty, that's what we hope you're playing.
Yeah, you know it's going to last, like 5 years plus.
That's when you go, I think you diverge to these other guys. I mean, his stats are just mental. 1,500 rushing yards, 14 rushing touchdowns, 7 receiving touchdowns, 67 receptions on 83 targets, plus another 500 yards. He got scammed of MVP.
Yeah, it's just because he's not a quarterback.
Lamar's stats were comparable to Tyrod Taylor's from
It's just because he's not a quarterback.
Yeah, and it sucks for him.
Yeah, but he put up all those stats at 27 years old.
Oh yeah,
which is I don't really see many of these guys doing that. Like, there's nobody in the league who does that still. It's just Christian McCaffrey, and everybody knows it too.
Oh yeah, and then coming in at our RB2 is Breece Hall. I'm glad it worked out this way. I have Breece Hall at my number 1, over Bijan. But I'm kind of glad it worked out this way, that it ended up being our consensus number 2, and then Bijan was our consensus number 1. I just think Breece Hall is the best runner in the league. Like, he's explosive.
I could see that.
He turned a bad offensive line at with the Jets and made it into an okay situation. He is insane.
And now that they're upgrading that O-line,
they upgraded the O-line.
Yeah, I feel like Aaron Rodgers is back.
Rodgers is back. Aaron Rodgers is back. You're going to get more receiving work after already having 95 targets last year.
Yeah.
Maybe not as many dump offs, but you're going to have more big plays. And this is a stat that really gets me: 19 20+ yard runs.
Yeah, that's absurd. With in the Jets, being on the Jets and having that stat, I feel like is absurd.
Averaging 4.5 yards per carry with the Jets is absurd.
Yeah.
Their team last year.
That should
And then
even
he
be real.
also, that's tied for second in the league with Christian McCaffrey. And he only had 5 touchdowns. That number is bound to go up.
Oh
Breece Hall
God.
is one of my favorite guys to draft this year.
That at least
and
goes.
should be going in every top 4.
Yeah, I think he at least goes into the double digits with touchdowns this year. I mean, he's got to. With the offense that he's in. I mean, how can you not?
And then our consensus number 1, Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
I'll let you take this one away.
I love watching him play. It's just the way he plays, like the ankle breaks you've seen, the way he runs. He looks like a running back, but he kind of looks like almost like a big wide receiver out there, and it's really fun to watch. And the amount of receptions he's getting. They got Kirk Cousins now. They got Kirk Cousins for a long time. They have Bijan. He's going into his sophomore year, so he's bound to break out. Like, they got a new head coach. Did they get a new offensive coordinator too?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, they know
they just got a head coach in Raheem Morris who wants to run the ball.
Yeah, they know. And, I mean, they know they have Bijan. They know they have a phenomenal running back there. They're going to use him.
And look at the season the Rams, Kyron Williams just came off of.
Yeah.
That's what you're basically bringing into this Atlanta team. Now you're giving them real weapons, like you said, or giving a real quarterback to work off of. They're going to score more touchdowns.
In general.
He's going to run the ball. He's not going to have a week where they just don't play him for some reason.
Yeah,
and
the best part, he's 22 years old.
He's 22. So is Breece Hall.
Yeah.
And he has 3 years left on his contract.
Mm-hmm.
You know he's locked in to a good destination with a good offense, with a good quarterback.
A team that's building and is on the end of their rebuilds, and they're starting to now dominate.
You cannot go wrong with picking Bijan Robinson.
Absolutely not.
He is the closest thing I've seen to CMC in terms of how good of a catcher, receiving back he is, how good he is off ball. He can line up anywhere.
They love throwing the ball.
When he runs it, his jump cut is just disgusting.
They love throwing the ball to him, which is another reason why I have him number 1. Because the receptions he's going to get is absurd.
He's a great running back, and that's why he is our consensus 1. You can't go wrong picking Bijan or Breece Hall, I think, but I get why Renzo's leaning Bijan.
You can't go wrong with any of these top 3 guys, though.
No.
Maybe CMC.
I think the top 2 especially, just because of their age in Dynasty.
Yeah.
You're locking yourself in with a great talent down the road.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you really can't go wrong. You really cannot.
So, yeah, that rounds out our top 12. Excited to get into our top 12 for Dynasty wide receivers. I think this list is a little less debated than our current one. But we're going to go to a break here, and we'll be right back. And we're back with Champ Talk, coming in with our final segment, some wide receiver dynasty rankings. We're going to go top 12 from bottom to top and continue on from where we were at. So I think the wide receivers are a little less debatable than what we had at.
Yeah, I think our bottom 4 are a little different, but then once we get to the top 8, I feel like
it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yep. So really, I think we're going to just group our bottom, our 11, 12, or 10, 11, 12, into one, or 10, 11, 12. First off, I want to start with Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I like
Just say something about him quick. I mean, the guy's 4-year contract just re-signed. Or 3-year contract just re-signed. He has great talent. He can really run routes, catch jump balls, and he's going to be a good guy to pair with Anthony Richardson. I know we only saw it in a small sample size, but he did great last year.
And I like Pittman. Honestly, I didn't put him in my top 12.
He was one of those guys who's like, I was kind of debating whether or not I did.
Yeah, he's definitely right outside my top 12. You know, it's not like he's in my bottom 20 or something. You know, like he's right there.
I think once you get out of the top 10, there's another tier of like 6 guys who you could pick. I think DJ Moore's in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's one of those hard ones to decide. I think the same thing about Jalen Waddle is in that tier.
Yeah. I think Devontae Smith might be around there too.
Yeah.
But I like Pittman. I think he's a little underrated when it comes down to wide receiver ones. But I think he's kind of made a name for himself in these past couple of years. I think he's just because he's been so consistent.
Oh yeah.
Not because he's been making huge plays, but he's been making the right plays and the good plays over and over and over again.
Like last year, he wasn't dropping under 10 points per week almost ever. Yeah. So he's a good guy to have. I think the same thing. Smith is your wide receiver 2 and Waddle. We'll group them together. I think they're in the same tier. They kind of both good route runners.
And they're both in a similar situation as well.
Yeah, they're the wide receiver 2.
And they dominate at that wide receiver 2 role.
Yeah, they're both about 25, both looking for a contract in this next year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard, but they both fit their scheme well, and if they can get the targets consistently, they're going to be great players.
And I think they will, because both of these teams love throwing the ball, and I think both of them are going to, once Tyreek and AJ Brown, once they draw attention, that just leaves Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith to be open for a numerous amount of targets.
So Pittman's my wide receiver 12, Waddle's my wide receiver 10, Devonta Smith is your wide receiver 11. Now let's jump to your wide receiver 10, Brandon Ayuk.
I love Ayuk, and the thing is, I know you talk about a lot, him getting traded.
Yeah.
And I fully believe in that as well.
Scares me.
Yeah, and that did scare me as well. But the thing is, he's so dominant to the point where he can be a wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams.
Oh, yeah.
And he could be a dominant wide receiver 2 on a lot of teams, depending on where he goes. I don't know. Obviously, I have no idea where he's going to go, where he's going to end up. But I feel like wherever he is going to end up, he's going to get targets.
He'll be a solid player.
Yeah, and he's going to get the targets. He's going to get the receptions. He's going to get the touchdowns. He's a playmaker, and I really like that about him. And I think the Niners use him so well, and I think a lot of other teams can use him as well. And I think wherever he ends up, I think he's going to be a great wide receiver.
He was my one I was debating with Pittman along with DJ Moore. They were like all in my wide receiver 12 consideration. I think it's just the uncertainty that left him off.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our wide receiver 10, Drake London. This is a guy you want to talk about just finally getting a good opportunity with Kirk Cousins. He's 22 years old, got 2 years left on his contract, shown flashes of being a very, very high potential playmaker. Yeah. Can go up and win jump balls. And he's finally going to have the quarterback desire to feed an offense.
And I think now that he, like you said, he's got Kirk Cousins to actually throw the ball to him. And they brought in Darnell Mooney. They have Drake London. They also brought in Rondale Moore.
Yeah.
I think.
But I still think he gets plenty of targets.
Yeah, because those guys are like wide receiver 2s and 3s, and I think Drake London is by far the wide receiver 1 here. He's going to get the targets that he deserves, and he's going to get the ball because Kirk Cousins loves throwing the ball.
Yeah,
and I think he's a great guy.
I think the scariest part is 2 things. Kyle Pitts is basically a glorified wide receiver.
Yeah,
and Kirk Cousins has never produced higher than wide receiver 7 outside of Justin Jefferson when they were his 1.
Yeah.
So really, you talk about Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson is a totally different type of guy than with him without. So that's going to be the big mystery. Coming in at our wide receiver 9 is Tyreek Hill. And this was because of me. I dropped him down. You had him at wide receiver 7. I have him at 11. He has 3 years left on his contract, which I didn't overly see. So I think he's going to retire at the end of his contract, like he said.
Yeah, I think so as well.
But he's going to be dominant for 3 years. I mean,
because you
already know about Tyreek Hill. He's fast. He can run routes.
Yeah, that's why
if Tua could stop under throwing him, he'd have 30 touchdowns.
But that's why he was so high on my list. It's just because I keep looking at what he's like back at what they've done. Like Christian McCaffrey, I said it about the running backs. Like,
yeah.
I had to put him over Brees because of what he's done. Tyreek is the same thing for me. And the reason why he's like still like not super, super high is just because he's old. He's 30.
Yeah,
and
that's why he's dropped down the bar. We're talking Dynasty here, so
yeah,
that makes sense.
But I still love Tyreek, and I'm not sure if he can do what he did last year. I'm not sure if he could do it again. I'm not sure if he could do it for 3 years.
I think the scariest part is their offensive line.
Yeah,
and just another year of having the same offensive scheme. Guys eventually catch on. There's a lot of really smart head coaches in the league. I mean, you saw with Mahomes, he's tailed off. They're just gonna start dropping guys deep, and then you're going to have to beat them short. I mean, but I still think he has a great year. I mean, 171 targets, 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns. You're not going to get much better than that.
Yeah, you're
especially
really
if he didn't get hurt. He would have easily finished as the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And the MVP of the league as a wide receiver.
Probably.
So coming in at our wide receiver 8 is
Olave.
Chris Olave.
Yeah,
my
Olave.
bad. I was looking between. If my computer worked,
This would
it would be a lot easier because I could see it all at once, but I'm using my phone. So Chris Olave, one word, car. Derek Carr hates Chris Olave.
Yeah. In the games, who was it? Jameis Winston came in?
Yeah.
Was the backup?
All of a sudden, Olave's stats went from 1 catch for 15 yards to
Like
6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, it's a little crazy how little Derek Carr wants to throw this guy the ball, and he's so good.
Great.
He's so good, and he's young too. He's 22.
He's 23 years old.
Yeah, 23. He's so young.
He just turned 23 too. Like
he just turned 23.
Newly
okay,
23,
yeah. So
or he's going to be for the season. Not sure, but he has 2 years left. And he's a great player.
He's so
good. He had
good.
that sophomore breakout a little.
He's so good.
And he's just going to keep getting better. He literally runs every round on the field, and he's great at getting space and making contested catches. So he's a great pick. I honestly have him very high in my overall draft rankings. He's my wide receiver 8, year 9. But he's almost a first-round pick in my rankings. So
he could be. If Derek Carr can say, hey, I want to actually throw my best wide receiver the ball, I think
won't happen.
Yeah, it won't. But let's just imagine in a perfect world that he thinks to actually throw his best receiver the ball. Yeah, it'd be phenomenal. I'd be like, wow, Olave would
he'd be in the same tier as Wilson.
Yeah, he might even AJ Brown. I think he'd be in that tier.
Yeah.
I think he'd be way up there.
The next guy we got at 7 is Puka Nacua. You have Tyreek Hill over Puka Nacua. I have him at 7. You have him at 8. But it's right around the same area.
Yeah.
I love Puka Nacua.
I picked him
up in almost every league as my first waiver. I had him in about 4 leagues this year, and he's my boy. I love Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
He's the greatest thing since rookie year. Terry McLaurin right here. Terry. Terry down there somewhere. Terry McLaurin. Had to give him a shout out today.
I do love
Wear
Terry.
The shirt.
Terry's so underrated.
If he had a real quarterback, he'd be in my top 12.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a bit older now. He's
scary Terry.
He's 27, so that's why he's not in my top 12. But he might be one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, now back to Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
I love Puka Nacua. I mean, this guy's just a route tech.
Yeah.
He literally catches everything and anything. He's sneaky. If you let him get going for a long distance, he gets going.
And I think what helped him was Cooper Kupp. And just Cooper Kupp's. I know Cooper Kupp was out for a while.
Absence.
Yeah, his absence and his presence. I know that doesn't make any sense. I know I'm totally
but him being
myself.
there and helping coach him and all that.
Yeah, just him.
He's here to stay.
Yeah, and I think that helped Puka Nacua so much.
And he's perfect for the McVay offense. He almost fits that Robert Woods role.
Yeah, that's what they need is that Puka Nacua.
And he's that over the middle.
Mm-hmm. And Stafford loves throwing the ball.
Oh, he loves throwing it to Puka too. That's the best part. And Sean McVay loves him.
Yeah.
So
see what happens when the quarterback actually throws their receiver the ball.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
It's funny how that works.
All right. And this is where I heavily disagree with you. Putting AJ Brown over Garrett Wilson. Right now we have a tie at 5-6 between AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson. AJ Brown's 3 years older, and I don't know if I heavily disagree with you because AJ Brown is crazy when he's actually throwing the ball.
Yeah.
It's just
he's so dominant.
I don't know. I keep having Brian Johnson flashbacks, man. It's like I gotta just get this guy out of my head. He's one of the worst offensive coordinators I've ever seen employed for a whole season.
And I think if we didn't get a new OC, if we didn't try and fix our offense, I would have definitely put Garrett above AJ.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. It's not like I was like, oh, AJ is obviously better than Garrett. No, this was a hard pick.
It's a hard pick.
Yeah. This is not easy. And you having Garrett at your 5 and AJ, you're 6. Totally reasonable. You know, like I get it.
Yeah.
But like I just find AJ Brown being so dominant.
He
and the
is
fact
so
that,
dominant.
And the fact that Jalen Hurts is going to be there for a long time. I know Aaron Rodgers is at the Jets, obviously, but I know them too. Like
they're both locked in for at least 3 years, and
AJ,
you know it's going to be consistent.
Yeah, AJ and Jalen Hurts. I mean, that chemistry is crazy.
What edged Garrett Wilson out over AJ Brown was that he's 23.
Yeah,
and
I get that.
Just how crazy he is.
He's so good. So good.
Like some of those catches, that week 1 catch he made Zach Wilson, the touchdown, basically one hand being just held against his body, and the other one, oh my God, that catch was insane.
He stopped it midair and then re-caught it. That was.
But yeah, I think he's one of the most talented young wide receivers in the league. And either way, whoever you pick, you're gonna get a good player.
Yeah.
I think Garrett Wilson. I just think he's better long term.
Yeah,
you just can have him for longer, but. I don't know. I like them both. I lean Garrett Wilson. You lean AJ Brown. Either pick is reasonable. Yeah. You might as well flip a coin.
I think AJ Brown is more dominant. I think Garrett Wilson is more talented.
Yeah.
And like obviously AJ Brown's talented, and obviously Garrett Wilson's dominant. But like I think
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. It's just like whoever you prefer, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Boringly, we agreed on our top 4.
But I feel like we
talked about this in our last episode, ranking our top 12. Dynasty players total.
This is the top 2, I feel like.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
This is the top.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's 3 and then Amon-Ra.
I could see that too.
But Amon-Ra at 4. I mean, dude, the guy's just a beast. This is another guy.
Mr. Consistent.
His rookie year. I mean, 164 targets, 1,500 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns. And Jared Goff just loves him. I mean, every single time they need a play, Amon-Ra's wide open.
I think everybody loves him.
He's a bit weird.
Who, Amon-Ra?
Have you ever seen his Instagram?
No.
He's a bit weird, but I love Amon-Ra.
I like him on the football field. I don't know about his Instagram.
I love him on the football field,
especially when he's on my fantasy team.
Oh yeah, he's a dominant playmaker, and he continually racks up catches.
Yeah.
And he's just a PPR monster. We do everything PPR here, by the way.
PPR.
He's a PPR monster.
Just catch after catch after catch.
I mean, he finished second in the league in reception, or tied for second with Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb, and he's just a dominant route runner. Up there with Puka, just wins every single matchup, and Jared Goff's security blanket, and Jared Goff's here to stay for a bit. So this duo, as long as Amon-Ra gets a contract, which I think he will, there's almost no way he doesn't.
Yeah, there's no way he doesn't.
He's my wide receiver 4 for a reason.
Yeah, and then moving on next to our top 3.
I think the top 3 is the most interchangeable part of the list.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not most interchangeable because we changed it up a lot. But I think this part of the list, you can't go wrong with drafting any one of them.
I feel like we've been saying that a lot.
Yeah, we have been. We got CeeDee Lamb at 3, Jamar Chase at 2, and Jay Jettas at 1. I think the Cowboys offense is going to see a little bit of a decline this year from the past year. I think CeeDee Lamb is an incredible wide receiver.
So good. And he was always good, but this past year he established himself as elite. I feel like.
Yes, he established himself as elite. Yeah. As one of the top talented.
He's always been there. He's always been good, especially with Amari Cooper there for a while. He was kind of in his shadow.
Yeah.
But now that Cooper's gone and Cooper's been gone, and now that CeeDee's really stepping into that role, that elite role, it's so fun.
He showed that he can do almost anything on the football field, make any catch, and the guy's just really good at football. No other way to put it. He's got to continue to rack catches. He led the NFL last year in catches, led fantasy in points, and he's got to do it for year after year if Dallas can find the money to pay him, which I think.
I don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
I forgot about this, and I wanted to say it. CeeDee Lamb, are you concerned about Dak Prescott possibly not re-signing there next year?
Yeah, that's the only thing. I like CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure if he's quarterback proof. I'm not sure what type of quarterback they're going to get.
Say Trey Lance.
I'm not sure how
or Penix. Say Lance or Penix.
Oh, I could see if they take Penix, I'm bought in on CD. If they somehow get Penix, I'm.
What about Lance? Lance was one of the guys who needed a couple of years anyway, so maybe him learning for 2 years helps.
Maybe him developing would be fine, but yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Next up on our list is Jamar Chase at 24 years old, has 2 years left on his contract.
With Joe Burrow.
Yeah. And I'm counting his 5th year. They're gonna give him the 5th year contract. He has Joe Burrow for 2 years. The only reason I have Chase under Jefferson is the fact about how inconsistent he is.
Yeah, they've been,
like he either get 1 or 50.
Yeah.
But I slight him out over CeeDee Lamb just because of Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. We know they're going to be there for a while, and we've seen their chemistry year in and year out, even all the way back to their LSU days. I mean, this duo is just absolutely incredible, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I know they're inconsistent, like you said. They are very inconsistent, but I mean, the times that they will be consistent, hopefully, maybe they go back to a Super Bowl. Maybe they, end up.
They have the talent to.
Yeah, maybe they end up being just electric all over again. I'm totally bought in on Jamar because
they downgraded on the running back a little.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a sign they're throwing more this year.
Yeah.
If T. Higgins is gone, they're especially going to throw the ball to Jamar Chase. But I see Jamar Chase as easily a 10-target guy either way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just a great player.
Yeah. And then rolling into our number one, overall number one,
Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
The guy's quarterback proof. No matter who they throw out there, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy.
Me.
He's going to be great.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He literally can transform any offense he's in. I've never seen a guy so good and double team so much and be wide open so much. He's literally, I've never seen a guy. He literally is open over the middle of the field almost every time.
Yeah.
I couldn't get myself to pick any of these guys over Justin Jefferson.
Mm-mm.
He has the swag. He has it all, bro. He's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And he's just an amazing football player.
Yeah.
He makes every single catch.
And especially if, say, they take McCarthy or whoever they end up taking in the draft, he's a young guy. Like, he'll be a young quarterback. These two will have chemistry for a long, long time. And Jefferson isn't going anywhere. I think
Kevin O'Connell's a great guy, great coach to really head this offense and make sure he stays relevant, and whatever quarterback they end up getting continues to produce for Justin Jefferson. I feel he's so quarterback proof it doesn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that rounds out our top 12. Just to run it back real quick, we got Pittman and Smith in that bottom tier, and then we got Waddle Ayuk in that next tier, and then at our 10 was Drake London, at our 9 was Tyreek Hill, at our 8 was Chris Olave, at our 7 was Puka Nacua, at our 5-6 was AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson, at our 4 was Amon-Ra, 3 was CeeDee Lamb, 2 was Jamar Chase, and 1 was Justin Jefferson.
I like that list.
Yeah, I do too.
That's a good list.
So that's going to wrap up the show here at Champ Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Make sure you check us out on Instagram, Spotify,
TikTok,
YouTube, TikTok. Yeah, TikTok. We need some follows. But yeah, have an amazing day. This is WNUW 98.5. See you guys next week.
See ya.